blasted the Skyview Trailer Court about noon today. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, but authorities estimate the damage at $100,000. It appears that high winds, rather than an actual tornado, caused this damage. Dr. Walt Lyons is in the Weather Center with some more insights into today's severe weather. Dr. Walt?
Or different views of it, perhaps. When you think of some of the calculations that have been made, that severe thunderstorms can produce as much energy as several atomic bombs per second, and then you look at tapes like that, you can pretty well believe the calculations. Right now, things are pretty well calming down. There are some scattered showers to the north and west of us. But those who are wondering what hit us, it was not just a thunderstorm, it was a certain type of thunderstorm. This week's severe weather has been noted not only for its severity, but for its diversity of types of beasts. What hit us today was what could be called a squall line. Not a tornado, but a squall line. Pre-cold frontal squall line, in fact. Well, let's take a look at it. What happens in this situation? We had a cold front to our west. It was moving in, uplifting the warm, sticky tropical area that was sitting over us, and that just triggered a huge line of thunderstorms. Now, years ago, people would get up in airplanes to 30,000 feet, and they'd see these lines of thunderstorms, cumulonimbus clouds, what have you, and they think they might stretch for 100 or so miles. But from the vantage point of a satellite, we can see a rather remarkable event today. Here's the beginning of it, the birth of that squall line on the cold front in western Minnesota. Now, just watch as we go hour through hour, it just explodes into a long line which extends through Iowa, down into Missouri, into Kansas, and all the way on to Texas, almost 1,000 miles long. One continuous line of thunderstorms. On radar, it goes from nearly Lake Superior down through Iowa into Kansas, and about the only good thing that's happening in Kansas is the temperatures in Topeka hit 100, and then now they've cooled off as it goes through. It was a huge, monstrous atmospheric event, Mike. We were at the northern end of it, and there's a lot of frustration with the weather all over the central U.S. tonight.
All right, thank you, Dr. Walt. We'll check back in more detail a bit later. Dr. Walt, I suppose the folks in Andover and Champlin may be asking one question tonight. Was it a tornado or straight-line winds that did all the damage to their town? Certainly, the folks caught up in this afternoon's windstorm had no real doubt in their minds.
They're not going to tell me this was straight-line winds this time.
Really? That's what they are saying now.
Oh, no way. Do straight-line winds do this? Take 4 houses? Take a dozen houses that way?
Yep.
Yeah, you answered before. Yes, they do.
That's right. In fact, straight-line winds in a huge thunderstorm complex that went through Wisconsin about 4 years ago, I guess, no, the summer of 1980, caused $400 million worth of damage. So straight-line winds are a real serious problem, and that's one of the reasons that when you have such intense thunderstorms, you have very severe thunderstorm warnings. Normally, when a tornado hits you, you know it. Hey, Pa, there's a tornado coming. I mean, you can usually see them. You can usually see swirling debris, although not always. And it's sometimes difficult to know if it's been a tornado or not. For instance, they can have almost invisible funnels. They can look like huge piles of clouds on the ground. Sometimes they can look long and snaky and rope-like, and we're never really sure. We do know that even though they look differently, they also have different velocities. And now, rarely do you get up to the 250-mile-an-hour level of the super maxi tornadoes. Most tornadoes are in the 100 to 150-mile-an-hour range. And we used to think that all severe wind damage like that was caused by tornadoes, but in the last 5 years, people have come to realize there's another phenomenon called thunderstorm downburst. Literally, air starts at the stratosphere and just roars down to the surface, sometimes picking up speeds to at least 125 miles an hour, and sometimes over very small straight-line swaths. So it is possible that whatever hit them out there was straight-line winds. In any case, if a tree lands on your car or your house goes away, it hardly makes any difference whether it was a tornado or a straight-line wind of 125 miles an hour. You got problems. And at 11 o'clock this morning on the radar, we saw that we had problems. The watches and the warnings started flying. Here's the squall line developing ahead of the cold front. By 1 o'clock, most of the damage was starting to be done already, particularly in the northern suburbs. The sirens were wailing. It was quite a scary day out there. You've already seen what it did. Now it's by 4 o'clock, it had moved rapidly eastwards into Wisconsin, where they've had a number of problems, and down in Iowa, where they've had several tornadoes this evening. But the big problem has been perhaps flash flooding. Last night, northern Minnesota got pounded by as much as 8 inches of rain and some local mudslides around Lake George. And also this afternoon, Viola, Wisconsin had 4.6 inches of rain. Some rivers down there went over their banks. But the good news is the flash flood watches, which had been out for southern Minnesota, are now canceled. Put a big X over that. Only northern Iowa remains in a flash flood watch status tonight. But the ground is obviously still pretty soaked. And the live radar shot does show some showers well north of the Twin Cities and northwest and a few out to the west. So we may be having a few more sprinkles and spritzels tonight, but it is generally calming down and no more severe weather for the 4th of July weekend, I think. There's plenty of it on the map, though. We indicated earlier in the show the squall line is now reaching down into Oklahoma and the Panhandle. 3 tornado watch boxes have been up this evening, but all of that is to the east of us and to the south of us, so all we have to do now is clean up the mess. And an appropriate day for severe weather. This is the anniversary of 18 inches of flash flooding rain along the North Dakota-Minnesota border in 1975, which caused $2.5 billion worth of flooding damage, particularly to agricultural. So it's been a wild day, and somewhere in there we got time to figure out the high was 83 degrees today, 2 above normal. The low last night 65. 1.65 inches of rain was at the airport. That was a pretty typical amount over much of the area. Well, the cold front that did it is now off to our east. We do have a lot of clouds and spritzly showers in back of it. Another reinforcing cold front coming down from Canada. By tomorrow evening, the fireworks will be mostly man-made. We'll have a few light showers over the state with on and off clouds, but the heavy thunderstorms will move into Michigan, down into Texas and Arkansas in that area. So tonight, it'll be pleasantly cool, almost chilly out in the western part of the 5-state area, and quite a bit more sleepable locally than tomorrow, with a fair amount of clouds and light rain showers scattered around. Temperatures will still make it into the 70s, and we should get a few hours of sun tomorrow. So all in all, it shouldn't be too bad a 4th of July. Just watch out for a half-hour sprinkles scattered here and there. Tonight, partly cloudy with those scattered showers. The remaining 65 for low, then south to southwest winds will gradually die down as the night wears on. And the 4th, variably cloudy, a few light afternoon scattered showers, and amidst the sunshine, 10 to 15 mile an hour northwest winds, the high 75. Tomorrow night, mostly cloudy, light rain showers, 61. And Tuesday, scattered showers. It's been raining a lot, hasn't it? High of 72. How about the rest of the week? A break on Wednesday, some more thunder showers, and it looks like we could return to real summery 90-ish weather towards the end of the week. In any case, I would like to have no more severe weather for a couple days, Mike.
Well, I'll join you in that thought. We've had enough the last couple
To
days.
say the least.
Thank you, Dr. Walt. Oh, well, just another weekend washed down the drain, right, Dr. Walt?
Am I to blame for that? Look, I just reported, Mike. I don't blame you for plane crashes and the like. But the weather for this summer has been, you know, and now we're going into the part that a lot of people don't like except air conditioner salesmen. The dog days, that period of hot, humid, sticky air that's characteristic of late July and early August. I wonder what the dog days are going to be like. I mean, we've been in a kennel, it seems, for the last week or two. Well, the best bet now is 65% chance that the entire 5-state area is going to be above normal. Now, normal for the next 30 days actually drops down 1 or 2 degrees. We lose a whole hour of sunlight between now and the middle of August. And in terms of precipitation, 3 1/3 inches is about normal. And of course, we've been running above normal for quite some time, and that seems to be a trend that'll continue. Most of the 5 states will be near or above normal, including the Twin Cities. So the dog days would appear to be ahead. Now, a lot of people say, oh, this crazy weather has something to do with the atomic bomb. You know, and that yesterday was the anniversary of the first actual atomic bomb explosion. I have a theory, not a very good one, that says since they stopped testing, things have been strange. But if you look at weird rainfall records, long before the atomic bomb in Rockport, West Virginia, they once had 19 inches of rain in 2 hours in July. Or how about while they were just building the bomb in Smithport, Pennsylvania, back in July of 42, 31 inches of rain nearly in 4.5 hours. And long since after they stopped testing it, Alvin, Texas, the home of Nolan Ryan, had 43 inches of rain in 24 hours. In other words, it can rain a lot in July and it has nothing to do with the bomb, except I think today's bomb was a dud in terms of the aquatennial because it rained again over Minnesota. We had one of the lesser amounts in downtown Minneapolis, 46/100ths of an inch. Detroit Lakes had 3 inches, Fargo had 2 inches, and we got off easy. I'm sorry for the aquatennial being a little soggy, but these clouds seem to have taken a great liking for downtown Minneapolis the last 2 days. Here they are, just grazing across the state. Maybe they're trying to see the parade and other activities from above. I don't know. That cluster went through today. It's now well out to our east. The current radar is completely clear, but over my shoulder, percolating away in the western portions of the Dakotas are more big thunderstorms, which will probably come rumbling through here tomorrow. Why will they do that? Well, look at the temperatures, 80s, 70s, and 60s. There's quite a temperature contrast through the area. There's also quite a dew point contrast through the area. It's sticky and very moist air to our south. Dew points typically in the 70s. There's a warm front separating the two, cooler and drier to the north, but these are both severe thunderstorm and tornado watches up until 4 a.m. Those thunderstorms could well survive and just move into western Dakota by dawn, and guess what? Right here by late tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. Right now, though, it's reasonably placid and under 70 for a change. 69 degrees the current temperature. Winds are east at a dozen, 87% the high. Humidity, barometer's 30 and steady. And the dew point is 65, which is actually less sticky than it's been for several days. 87 before the thunderstorms arrived. The non-90 high today, but it felt like it in any case. And the low last night was 68. As for the future, well, let's start off with what we had today. There's a huge area of upper 90s and hundreds covering much of the country. We were just saved from that, mostly because of the thunder showers and clouds. Tomorrow, well, we got some complex play of fronts. That warm front I mentioned is going to slowly move north. It was just south of us this afternoon. There's a disturbance, an upper air disturbance, that's going to kick off a weak little low-pressure system tomorrow. But weak little low-pressure systems this time of year can produce quite a bit of active thunderstorm activity, and that'll get closer to us tomorrow. The chance of thunderstorms will zoom by late morning, tomorrow afternoon, and we'll probably be in the warm air. But if there's any consolation, once again, the heaviest rains on Monday will probably be over north and central Minnesota, lesser in the southern part of the state. Or you can go to Texas and get rained on, too. Take your pick. As far as the highs Monday, low 90s will attempt to return to Minnesota unless the showers cut them off. In other words, the dog days are here. Tonight, partly cloudy, warm and muggy. Low about, well, 70, a few degrees either side, depending on where you are. Then Monday, variably cloudy, periods of thunderstorms redeveloping by late morning and into the afternoon. Warm and muggy again, high 88, maybe a 90 or 2, south to southwest winds. Tomorrow night, thunderstorms, low 70, Tuesday, scattered shower. This is very monotonous weather, but it is summer. And, well, maybe we'll get rid of the thunder showers and get some slightly drier air in by midweek, and then we'll have a return to mid to upper 90s, very possibly by later portion of the week, Mike, as the whole eastern part of the country is going to be baking away.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Walt.
You got it.
Well, it was a long time in coming, but summer, when it got here, busted out mighty fast.
Sure did. Third 80-degree day in a row. Some people say it's too hot already. Can't keep them happy. You know, Mike, we name things in meteorology, right? We like to name our hurricanes Adolph and Bootsy and, you know, all these crazy names. But we also name air masses, and we today have an MT air mass.
Which stands for?
You have to watch the whole show to find out.
Okay.
See, we keep them watching now. But before we tell you about the MT air mass, well, I'll sort of give you some hints of what it's like. For instance, the high temperature today was 86. That's 10 above normal. The low last night, I had a little trouble sleeping without the fan on. It was only 66. Right now it is still 83. The humidity is apparently low at 48%, but the dew point is up near 60. The winds are south up to 28 miles an hour in gusts, and the barometer is slowly sagging downwards. Over the five-state area, well, 80s are quite common. In fact, there's even a 90 up in Williston, but it's a little bit cooler, some 70s, even a few spotted 60s out to our south and west. That is the effect of some scattered rain shower activity. Nothing particularly heavy, though. Well, let's check it out. Dew points are very interesting. Now, the dew point is nothing complicated at all. It's the temperature to which you cool the air down to make dew or frost or what have you. And it's in the 60s. In other words, all you have to do is have your beer can about 60 degrees and it'll start perspiring on the outside. Notice this large area of clouds out here with the showers. So those clouds have been moving from the south. The radar has been picking up the showers moving almost due north at around 30 miles an hour, particularly about 50 miles west of the cities. In that area, you're going to get some light showers in the next few hours. And in the cities themselves, you might get sprinkled on later on tonight, as new showers will continue to form in this muggy, tropical air mass that we are in. So let's talk about air masses. Well, what are they? Well, they're kind of just that. They're big masses of air. The definition is vast or huge regions of air with rather similar temperature and moisture content. So the entire five-state area would appear to be in an air mass. And an air mass, well, essentially it acquires its characteristics due to the surface that it's over. So where the air came from pretty well tells you what the air is like. And we are in an MT, maritime tropical air mass, forms over the tropical oceans, therefore it is warm and it is moist. You don't need me to tell you that, just go outside, because the dew point is high, the temperature is high. The morning lows throughout this entire area covered with this Bermuda high type of circulation pumping in the maritime tropical air out of the Gulf of Mexico. Temperatures generally in the 60s. And when the thunderstorms break out in this air mass, they can be wild. Look at this huge cluster of thunderstorms in Oklahoma. Up to 2 to 3 to 4 inch rains down there, and some rivers are 9 feet above flood stage in central Oklahoma. We are just on the northern edge of the heavier precipitation. I don't think we'll have anything particularly notable around here. In fact, most of that has died down. The only place that has heavy rains right now is Florida, and that's pretty typical for them in summer. So we are going to stay for the next day or 2 or 3 in the maritime tropical, the MT air mass, which means rather high temperatures, rather high dew points is a better way of looking at it, a chance of occasional showers, and bits of thunder into it, and most of the heavier rays will be just off to our west, but we do have the possibility of picking up a quarter an inch or more of rain sometime in the next 36 to 48 hours. So tonight, mostly cloudy, a chance of some showers. Warm, the low only about 67. That's typical of a summertime MT air mass. So is the high about 87. It'll be up there, and it'll be a little bit, sticky. Dew point's going to be in the low 60s. We're not used to that. Variably cloudy with thunderstorms possible off and on during the day. Otherwise, a fairly pleasant early summer-type day. South winds tomorrow, 12 to 18 miles an hour. Then the week ahead, it looks as if we'll have sort of a mixed bag of off and on sun, a few spotty thunder showers, and temperatures cooling down a little bit towards the end of the week as some cooler air out west gradually moves in and replaces us with a CP air mass, continental polar.
Continental polar. I thought MT was Minnesota thermal.
You can continue to think that, but you're wrong.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Walt. Just trying to figure up how many days it was since we had that snowstorm in April. Quite a difference today, huh?
I don't even want to think about last April. No, as we suspected, we were going to have no spring and then just go bang right into summer. And that seems to be pretty much the pattern that is holding up. Tonight, we're going to have a show which is a tale of two terminologies. First, we're going to talk about air masses, and then we're going to talk about jet streams. Now, air masses are these tremendously large areas of air which have roughly the same temperature and the same moisture content, and they are steered around the continent by the jet stream. And finally, tonight, I would like to say something kind about the jet stream, which is normally our whipping boy here on the WCCO Weather Center weathercasts. See what has happened since last weekend. The jet stream has gone through a giant contortion, and suddenly, boing, Minnesota goes right back into summer. And the air masses that are being steered around are different. Now, if you go into any meteorology textbook, you'll see CT for continental tropical or CA, continental Arctic air. That's what we get in January, or maritime tropical air or maritime polar. And depending where the jet stream is, depends on where these giant air masses go. Because they travel. They may start over the tropical oceans or the cool Gulf, north of the Gulf Stream where the Atlantic Ocean is very cool, but then they start moving. Like the maritime polar air mass once took a dive into New Hampshire in this time of year. Can you believe they're still talking about it, even though it was in 1842, but Berlin, New Hampshire on this date had 11 inches of snow. That's what happens when you get the wrong air mass in June. But guess what air mass we're getting today? Aha! 80-degree temperatures. The first one of the year in Green Bay. It was at 87, a record high in Marquette. It made 92 in Winnipeg, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is definitely what you would call a maritime tropical air mass. Watch the satellite picture. Watch it stream northwards. This is moisture, a lot of low clouds, light rain showers, nothing severe. It has been relatively tame out there. We've been following the precipitation streaming north. This is Gulf moisture moving right up through Minnesota over the radar in the last few hours. Live radar shows light rain showers. We've had 1/100 of an inch. I mean, hardly anything here at the WCCO Weather Center. Those showers are oozing eastward slowly. You might have a half-hour of rain at your house, and that should be it for at least a while. Temperature is now down to a still mild 73. The winds from the Gulf at 13 miles an hour. The humidity is up to 73%. The dew point, 64. That's high. 86, the high today. 10 above normal, 10 below the record. It is warm. Our third 80 in a row. Last night, it was almost a little warm for sleeping for some people. 66 was the low. And the highs tomorrow, hundreds and 90s and 80s over this whole area. Maritime tropical air is going to dominate the eastern part of the United States for several days. When you have MT air masses, as we call them, though, rains are common, and a quarter-inch rain, half-inch rain cells will be in western Minnesota tomorrow, and a few may stray into our neighborhood. But basically, since the jet stream is not moving, it's gone into one of its southern patterns. The surface front won't move very much, and we should stay in the warm, muggy, occasionally showery air for several more days. And tonight, scattered showers, mostly cloudy, the low only 68. Remember when we wish we had that for a high last week? Then tomorrow, variably cloudy, warm and humid, some scattered showers will dot the sky. Again, about 87 degrees for a high. It'll feel kind of muggy. Tomorrow night, the same type of forecast. 68 for a low with scattered showers. Monday, scattered thunder showers. The high again about 86. And it looks as if our extended outlook is a lot of dittos. We're going to see scattered thunderstorms, which means mostly sunny, really, for long periods, but 1 or 2 boomers coming around. And temperatures will slowly cool down as a maritime polar air mass slides in from the west, helped by the jet stream. Did you follow that?
Yeah, I did. You'll have fun tracking all those scattered thunderstorms all week long.
That's my job.
All right, thank you, Walt.
No such weather here for us. Dr. Walt, they're having some problems here, but our worst problem is cloud cover.
That's right. Actually, after seeing what's going on in Salt Lake City, I feel rather guilty complaining about our weather, but it's been less than optimal. But our old friend here, the almanac, you know, it says that tomorrow's the anniversary of the first presidential ride on a railroad in 1833. It also said that today was supposed to be fair and hot. In other words, the weather is not what it's quacked up to be. That was a bad pun, but so has our weather been. Really, frankly, folks, not very punny at all. June, our wettest month, is already an inch ahead of the pace. 1983, we are about 7.5 inches above normal in terms of precipitation. Heck, 1958 didn't even have that much rain the whole year long. And today, once again, the sky opened up and, well, little teeny showers fell out. Last few hours, the showers have been drifting southeast into Wisconsin. They've gone away. We turn on the live radar. There's nothing there in terms of precipitation. And that'll probably stay that way till about midday tomorrow when some more showers may redevelop. Hardly torrential downpours. A trace was all that fell in the official bucket today. Madison picked up 1/12 of an inch, but it was on a weekend, and it was the thought that counted. We didn't need the precipitation, and neither do they. Rain is falling out of the sky in prodigious amounts over much of the southern U.S. Antlers, Oklahoma, at 3.5 inches of rain, and tornado watch areas are out for much of the southern part of the U.S. Look at that nasty little cell down around Wichita Falls, Texas. It's popped 3 tornadoes, and that thing is up to 65,000 feet high. Heck, our little cumulus of this afternoon were only about 5,000 feet high, and in the last few hours, those higher and lower clouds have been gradually moving southeast, parting up. You'll see more and more stars tonight, and with the drier air and the lower dew points, it will cool off. Area temperatures right now are pretty much in the 50s, even some 40s showing up in northern Minnesota the last few minutes, and by dawn, once again, the 30s will reappear over the northern tier of the 5-state region. Last night, in Bismarck, it was 32, a record low even for Bismarck in June. That's terrible, but that's what they had. Right now it is 56 degrees. Northwest winds diminished to 7. Humidity 67%. The barometer, that's a good sign, I guess. It is slowly rising from 29.95. The high today was 64, 4 cooler than yesterday, 10 cooler than normal, 29 degrees cooler than the record. When will it ever warm up? Well, probably not this week. Oh, there is some heat on the map. It was 103 in Bullhead City, Arizona. It was 81 in Akron, Ohio, but only 47 in Akron, Colorado. And basically, this whole region looks like it's going to continue on the cool side for most of the rest of this week, if not until next weekend. Highs tomorrow, well, they may jump into the low 70s over some portions of the 5-state area. But in terms of sticky, hot summer heat, nothing. Canadian air is going to dominate the entire region. In fact, tomorrow, another one of those little troughs will zing through the area with spittly little clouds and some light dots of precipitation in the afternoon. But the real gully washers would once again be in the southern part of the Mississippi Valley, where they need rain like I need more hair. And then for tonight, though, around here, partly cloudy, cool. Most of the showers have already ended, though. 42 to 48 the range in lows. Northwest winds 5 to 10. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, a possible shower once again in the afternoon. Continued cool, maybe up to 67 degrees. Northwest winds 10 to 18. Tomorrow night, same rut, partly cloudy, a few showers around, ending, though, 47 for low. Then Tuesday, partly sunny. That's slightly different. The high about 68 degrees. And the week ahead, lots of partlies, sunnies and cloudies and what have you, and a slow return to near normal by week's end, I hope. And no floods, no hailstorms, no tornadoes, so I'm not really complaining, but it would be nice to see at least 180.
How many 80s have we had this year? Test question.
None.
Isn't that something? That's very unusual.
Right.
All right. I didn't see any 80s in that forecast either. Oh, Walt.
Not much to memorialize or remember about this Memorial Day, weather-wise.
Well, it may be one of the top 5 crummiest ones we've ever had. No, the weather has just not been very adequate for going out and having a good time, let's put it that way. But I want to know if you remember that. Yes, that. Because as of last night, we have passed the historical phenomenological end of winter, because our latest freeze and our latest snow is the 28th of May, here. But believe it or not, on June 1st, it snowed once in Cleveland. Cleveland usually gets a good laugh. That's not funny, though. Snow flurries on June 2nd once were seen in downtown Chicago, but as far as we know, officially, it has never snowed in the Twin Cities in June. Is this going to be one of those Junes when it occurs? The 30-day outlook for the month of June says below normal. Of course, our lows jump up and our highs go all the way to 80 by the end of June. The extremes, it's been as warm as 104. And though it's the rainiest month with nearly 4 inches, it has never snowed. And I think we'll keep that pace up, particularly since it looks as if Well, normal to below normal temperature or precipitation will cover most of the 5-state area, and that's good because we've had nearly double our May precipitation, aided and abetted by what we had today. Oh, they look so white from above, but this cyclonic stationary low-pressure system over the Great Lakes has just sent swirl upon swirl upon swirl of clouds roaring over us. For instance, if we go back to the radar, 9 o'clock this morning it was almost bare, but look at these, shower after shower after shower with little bitty bits of sunshine in between them. But all told, 1/4 of an inch officially at the airport and 4/10 of an inch here at WCCO. The live radar shows little showers scattered throughout the metro area. They will diminish gradually tonight, and it's going to be a cool, chilly night. Look at this. Oh, 60s way up in North Dakota. But if you were in Park Falls right now, you'd be complaining because it was 40 only. But in Park Falls, it's going to dip into the 30s tonight. Also, much of South Dakota has a frost warning for tonight. The clouds will keep us in the 40s at least. Today, the high limped all the way up to 57. That's 15 degrees shortchanging on the normal 47, the overnight low last night. Right now, it's down into the 40s, 49 degrees. The northwest wind shivers your timbers and everything else at 15 miles an hour. The barometer, it's going down. The only thing going up is the humidity. Big deal. Highs today was 111 in Bullhead City, Arizona, 77 in Fairbanks, 41 in Marquette, Michigan. Tomorrow, hardly any change in that pattern. Hot in the west, cold over the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes, and that's the pattern for the week ahead. 6 p.m. map tomorrow night looks just like the 6 p.m. map tonight. This low over the Great Lakes is just going to keep that cold, showery, cloudy, miserable, awful conditions over us, but at least the really heavy rains, the torrential downpours are all going to be to the south and east of us. We'll just get little 1/10 of an inches. So tomorrow, midday, it looks like pestiferous patches of precipitation will pester the picnickers over much of the 5-state area, particularly from here east. Go to Rapid